While you were
Uncle Bill.
Oh, someone turn your key away.
Mama doesn't know that one, Mama.
There go the sweet bells, tell you what I'll do. They'll buy you new ones right away.
It's my uncle's place. It's the backyard. Sounds like a plan to me.
Don't tell me you're recording all this.
No, of course.
Just put it on it.
It's good tonight.
That's your great Uncle Bill.
Say hi.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you at this time of reflection, sharing the story of the life of this man that has made such an indelible impression upon so many with his giftedness, his character, his personality. And we come here to honor Bill, that we may comfort one another with a promise from God's holy scriptures that death is not the end of our life. There is more. In the first instance, depart can mean taking down a tent and breaking camp. And I happen to notice, looking at the pictures, that Bill, I believe, was in the Scouts and in those tents. Now that tent's a little different than the ones I've been in, with the and the zippers and the compartments and all that, and the air mattresses and all that they have today. It's almost like a luxury life in those things they have today.
Tents were a luxury in our family.
Yeah. And the reason for that is this is our earthly fleshly body. It was not meant to go on one way or other. Some people go through life having to endure physical things with their tent. Others go through life that looks like but nonetheless, it's a tent. It is going to give out. Bill, though, was very much a talented individual. I hear he's very much into music, and in fact had quite the ear for it. Could listen and pick it up and begin to play it. Bill, it seems, made his choice. He's left his tent. He's moved on to something permanent, beautiful, and joyful.
He was born on January 6th, Epiphany, which is also called the 12th night. And all of his birthday presents were wrapped in Christmas paper because that is the 12th day of Christmas. My mother always said he was her golden-haired Christmas present, who could make enough noise for 12 little boys, but also gave her enough love for 12 little boys, which he repeated that story every year on his birthday. Even the 30 years she's been gone. He also had a heart bigger than 12 men, and the one I compared all other men to. He secretly called all of his sisters his favorite, and also sissy. We didn't always know that, and it made us feel special, but he loves us all equally. He was a lifelong Boy Scout and Boy Scout leader, and also a Freemason. He loved campfires and tree forts and fishing. And since our father was a scoutmaster, I also got drug along, and some of you Boy Scouts are here and know, on the camping trips. He especially loved winter camping with lots of snow, and my brother had a tape recorder. I'm pretty sure it was the first tape recorder ever invented, and he still has it somewhere in his house, along with 12 other tape recorders, 12,000 records or more, toasters, fans, radios, and even more TVs, boxes of TV and radio tubes, if anybody wants radio tubes. I got him. Because he could fix anything that plugged in. He recorded everything and everyone to a point where we almost wanted to choke him. Sometimes he recorded things that you didn't know he was recording, and he played them later for boys you never said you liked when they grew up 30 years later. He had a tape recording of the frogs singing on our pond in the summer. Pretty amazing because one, mosquito, and two, you got to be really, really quiet to sneak up on a pond full of frogs and to get to hear them singing. He took that tape and he played it one winter night outside the stone building at Carpenter's Park. The other troop was in that stone building camping, and there was like 3 feet of snow. We were hidden outside, and on that dark winter night, the clear, sweet voices of the pond gave up its song of chorus frogs, cricket frogs, and last a big bullfrog was heard. Are those frogs? Frogs? And we were trying to keep from laughing ourselves silly outside, listening to the scouts inside going, what's going on? And they never knew why they heard frogs singing in the dead of winter. The cold didn't bother us. In fact, I remember when we had meat hanging in the barn, sometimes Daddy would make our brother go out and sleep in the barn with the meat so it wouldn't freeze solid just by his body heat being in the barn. Imagine what Child and Family Services would say about that type of parenting today. Brother loved fishing so much, he had every kind of tackle, and he still had trouble not tangling his fishing line. But he never got frustrated, he just kept at it because he loved everything about fishing. One of my best memories with him was the day when we were just coming off the bus and very young, and we went right out back to the pond and we fished for bluegills. That day was his day because he never got his line tangled, and I stood amazed watching him pull in bluegill after bluegill after bluegill. It was the best fishing day of his life. I have smoked his clothes with wood smoke that he's going to be cremated in because he loved the campfire so much. Every time I went to see him, I smoked myself with wood smoke, and so when I hugged him, he said, pretty good, you had a fire without me. Growing up on the farm kids, we have a lot of experiences together most kids don't ever get to know. Stories upon stories and more, and it would be no contest which one of us could tell the longest or the loudest or the funniest, because it would be no laughing now. Him, come on. He is from generations of tricksters and practical jokers, homemade winemakers and beer drinkers. He loved family and he loved fish fries and parties and celebrations. And if you were having a hard day, he would make you feel like you were the most important person in the world, even if he had just met you. It makes me very sad for the rest of the world who did not see past his, what they perceived differentness, to know this about him. And those of you who knew him understand very well what I'm talking about. He may have seemed perpetually sad, but that is only because he felt grief and loss of all he loved so deeply. It made him live more passionately and love more intently. If you were one that did not love him, I probably beat you up at some point in your life. But if you were loved by him, you were loved by no one who is a better champion, as he was mine. He kept every secret I had. I will miss him profoundly, the most extraordinary and brilliant harmonica player that the world never knew all the rest of my life. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Very much. Please remember him the way he was, loving, giving, kind, always.
Ow, you got me with your teeth. It hurts. Don't get me with your teeth. Was it scary? It scared me again. Let's have love here.